What we are doing is essentially to accept the cadence that has already been fixed, or it has been suggested. I would like to understand whether there is anyone that is going to suggest something different than that. In particular, whether there are groups interested in the deep drilling fields, in the mini surveys, in such a way that we can start to think about what is our specific goal in the participation for the white papers. So I agree with you that the specific sessions, the tutorials are quite important to become familiar with, but probably before we go in these in-depth sessions, I would like to have a more general discussion with the participants on what we would like to do and where we are going.
In fact, the idea of, as I said, after Angela's talk and after the tutorial of Owen, which is technical tutorial, that maybe we can move just before the small session groups. The point is to decide how to manage the small session groups, the groups actually, by considering a plenary session, as you suggest, to decide what we want to do if we are interested in doing simulation for deep drilling fields or the main survey, the Wi-Fi deep, or mini surveys like galactic planes, and then we will do the session in small groups once we identify common scientific topics or common cadence with different scientific topics, which is also great. And so we can do this discussion after the talk of Angela, of course, about that. Okay, thank you, Giuseppe.
Now Angela will talk about the Hackathon meeting in New York.
Okay, so I think this is exactly the kind of meeting you would like to do. So this is what we have done in New York. So my name is Angela Bongiorno. For people that don't know me, I work at the Observatory of Rome, and I participate at the New York meeting together with these people from INAF, so Silvia Piranomonte, Marcella Brusa, and Om Sharam Salafia. And so the organizer asked me to summarize what we have done there. So this will be a bit biased because I will concentrate on the projects where INAF was involved, but I will try to give you an overview of everything. So as Federica said yesterday, so can you hear me also from here? Yes? No? Yes? Okay. So the goal of the meeting was to foster collaboration among people in different science collaboration, and in particular to find synergies and conflicts between different science output, science interest, and to solve conflicts, talking and proposing strategies that could put together synergies and could solve conflicts. So this was the first step, and the idea is to write these white papers, and the deadline is the end of November. So the beginning of the projects, basically we spent one day divided in small groups with a representative of each science collaboration, and we just talked. And it was very useful because you really get the idea of how many different requirements people need to really meet their science, to do their science projects. And so you just chat and you realize that it's very complicated to put everything together, to make everybody happy. So we did that with different groups, and we changed the members so that at the end of the day you basically talk to everybody. And then we wrote on a whiteboard stuff that ideas, conflicts, worries, everything that could be useful for starting projects. And at the end of the day they asked us to actually propose some strategies, some projects, and to initiate this, to start working on them, grouping, so having a leader and grouping people with the same interest. So this is the list of the projects that have been proposed. So these are 10 projects that really span a very wide range of topics. So I think really step 0 is to go through these projects and see whether there is something that can be interesting for you, and just write to the person that is in charge of leading the white paper. The presentation are online, as Federica was saying, so you can just go there and see what has been done already and what is the basic idea, and see if you have your you can have a contribution to that. So I will concentrate on three projects that are the one where the people from ENAF have been involved. So one is the one I was involved. The leader is Neil Brandt, that is the coordinator of the AGN science collaboration. And then there was the project from Silvia and on the target opportunity for a gravitational wave follow-up, electromagnetic follow-up. And the one from Marcella that was a more general project on find a compromise between area and depth. So how we do that, we already heard several times. So the two tools, so we got a little bit of, a tutorial on this, but actually in every group there was a math expert working with us that could just translate our wish and our need in something in Python, let's say. So OpSim is the software that basically allows you to simulate the survey. Most of us actually didn't really simulate the survey, but just modify the baseline. And then math is whatever you need to really understand whether with this strategy you can meet your scientific, you can quantify the scientific output of the survey. And there are already more than 100 metrics that are available, so for the meeting, we used the one that were available. We just modify some of them, but the idea is to write whatever you need for your science project. So this is the first project, is concentrating on the deep drilling fields. And so the group that were most interested in the deep drilling fields were the AGN and the supernova guys. So we got together and we start talking. So we found some synergies in the strategy. For example, both groups want a cadence that is of the order of 2 days. More than that would be wasted, less would be not enough. But for example, we also found some things that are different. For example, the filters. So supernova guys are only interested in R, I, and Z band. So for them, we can actually do the deep drilling field only in these bands, and they have requirements on the depth, the nightly depth of such filters. But for example, for photometric redshift, it's very important to have the U band, and for finding high redshift spacer, we need the Y band. So we had to find a compromise for the filters. So the simulation that we ran was basically choosing every night, so dedicating every night 40 minutes to the deep drilling fields, divided in two fields that you choose according to the coordinates and the ARMAS. And then as I say, we wanted the 2-day cadence. Not clumpy, so regular, and if it's not possible for all fields, we put this requirement at least for some of the fields. And then we put a smarter filter allocation. As I said, we had to find a compromise between the different science groups. So this is basically how we divided. So for 80 visits, this is the way you divided among the filters. So we simulated the survey not using the OpSim, but using this AltShed. There is a software developed by Daniel Rothschild that was in our group, but it's exactly the same as OpSim. So as you see, there is the white survey, and then at some point there is a little dot, and this is one of the deep drilling field. I don't go through all the 10 years, don't worry. And we just ran some basic metrics to see whether we actually met the requirements we wanted. So this is for example, this is the cadence. So we have basically a peak at 2 days. The nightly cohort depth was, so they require in GR and I 24.5, I think, and this is met. And for example, for the high redshift quasar, we wanted a depth fainter than 26, and this is 26.7. So this is just the starting of the project. This was 3 very intense days, but 3 days still. And so the idea is that now we will work on the details of the simulation, redefining stuff, and the most important part is to write metrics to really quantify the science output we will get from the deep drilling. So if you are interested in the deep drilling field, I think Neil's idea is to keep this more AGN and supernova, but I think if you are interested in the deep drilling field, you can contact him and try, we can try to have, a white paper more general. No? Okay, so the second project was led by OM with Silvia and other people, and so it was focused on the target of opportunity program to follow up gravitational wave counterparts. And so they wanted to test how this kind of program can affect the science in general of the survey. So they run that, they follow 2 approaches. The first, they took the baseline and they basically assume something that is reasonable, like 37 events a year, each of them requiring 60 degrees to be followed up, and they overwrite the baseline with some follow-up that makes sense for the gravitational wave counterparts. And they also followed, an easier approach to test some extreme cases, so just erase from the survey, from the baseline, the data corresponding to the events, and so they assumed they assumed to follow up only golden events, so assuming only 10 events, each with 30 square degree to be followed up to what they call GVU aholic, so that you have basically 100 events and each of them require 1,000 square degree to be followed up. And what they did is to try to quantify what would be the impact on the full survey if you allow this kind of target opportunity program. So this is the first case where they basically they don't erase, but they overwrite the baseline. So you see there are these fields here, because it's not that when you follow up gravitational wave counterparts, you are anyway doing something useful for others. So these are observations that others can use. So it's just that where you are pointing is given by the trigger. Okay. So and this is instead the case of where you erase, and so you see that there are basically missing parts. Anyway, for the moment, what they run is just the co-added depth in the high band. And this is for the baseline, so the orange one, and then all the run they did. And so except for the aholic, that is the red one, basically they see that there is not a big impact on the full strategy. So anyway, they are happy to have input from you. So if you want to test your science, in this case, they put the database is available and also some of what they develop. So just write an email to OM and you will get everything you need. So the last project I will talk is the one where Marcella was involved. This is a little bit different because they were the most heterogeneous group. So the idea is to put together people from different science collaboration, whatever, and test a trade-off between area and depth. So what they did is they start from the baseline, and they actually increased the area, including part of the sky that were not included or that were included in a not appropriate way. I don't know, maybe this is not the right word, but like mini surveys and all the stuff. So they included all the regions that for them could be interested, for example, the galactic plane, or regions, the south pole, or regions that could have overlap with Euclid and whatever. And so what they want to do, so there is a code that was written by Lin, and it's called Lin Sim, and it's available on GitHub, that give you basically this configuration. And so what they want to do is to test different science with this new strategy. So they really would like to have input from the community, and especially from the TVS, because for what I understood, Marcella is from the TVS, but the science requirement for different projects inside the TVS can be very different, so one person is not enough. And so again, write to Olsen or to Marcella if you want to contribute to this white paper. The last thing is this document I want to show you. This is something everybody has been invited to provide information, to put information on this document that is online. So basically you have the deep drilling fields, the different part of the survey, and this is a list of requirements. And so if you can just add a line, change a color, and put what would be your wish. So this is called infinite diversity, infinite combination. So the idea is to collect input for the whole community and try to see if they can find something that makes everybody happy. So that's it. I think the final thing is there are a lot of projects already started. Some of them are already enough. So before thinking about your own project, maybe go to this web page, check what has been already done, and write an email to the person that is leading the project. Thanks.
Thank you. Any question?